This is ACC Nation, your source for ACC sports coverage. Connect with us at accnation.net. Listen to our podcast and streaming radio. Watch us on YouTube and follow us on your favorite social media outlet. Now, here's Will and Jim.
Welcome to ACC Nation. That's Will Ogenin. I'm Jim Quist, and we are here for you to talk about what happened this past weekend in ACC college football. A lot of games on the schedule. Let's get into the very first game. We talked about James Madison being one of those home wreckers. You know, they have the potential of messing with you. And they messed with the Cardinals. There's a lot of people on the message boards, Will, the folks who are Louisville fans, who are going, we had them all along. It was no big deal. No, you didn't. JMU was giving you what for? You're lucky you came out 28-14. You did not cover the original open on that, by the way. I think it was 14.5. So, your thoughts on that game?
But when you talked about JMU being a home wrecker, all I could think of was the song Home Wrecker by the Chicks.
Chicks will do that to you. Warning.
Yeah. Not interested in singing tonight, but we will, I don't know. I don't have the liquid courage in me to do that tonight. This game, it was a defensive struggle.
Yeah.
We talked I kind of took JMU a little too lightly personally. I'm like, oh, whatever. Louisville should run through them. And JMU led this game 7-6 at halftime. Then it was tied at 14 going into the fourth quarter, and it was close throughout until Isaac Brown housed a 78-yard run in the latter stages of the fourth quarter to seal it. Credit to the defense. Like I said, this was a defensive struggle. They sacked JMU's quarterback 6 times, which I don't know what was up with that offensive scheme JMU was running. It worked really well, but then they had the 2 quarterback rotation of Barnett and Sluka, and
that's stupid.
Anytime he was in the game, you knew he was going to run.
Yeah.
Eventually, it was too predictable, and you knew what they were going to do. And eventually, like I say, you're smart enough to catch up to that.
Look, 2 good quarterbacks there. Both of them have capabilities, and their strengths are in different areas. Why don't you just put both of them in the game and scheme your offense around, you never know what's going to be coming at you, right? You've got these 2 guys that are very capable of doing different things. Scheme your offense to be a little more complicated and get both those guys in there if that's what you want to do. But this whole mess that you threw on the field the other night, it's like Will just said, it's too predictable.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to go through the rest of the season succeeding with that.
Yeah.
Well,
maybe on the lower levels when you get in a Sun Belt play, because I think JMU has the talent to be a Sun Belt title contender.
I think so too. Yeah.
The thing of it is around halftime, I had tweeted talking about, or posted on Twitter and Blue Sky, talking about how somebody's going to hire their coach Chesney and is going to do really well with it. A couple schools in Virginia might be looking for one here in the very near future.
Yeah,
maybe one in Blacksburg. And so somebody comes back to me later and it's like, did you watch the game? Hey, I was right in the first half. Just saying. I mean, they were doing really well, but they just didn't make the adjustments. Louisville had 264 total yards in this game. 78 came on that one run by Isaac Brown. So they basically got 30% of their yards on one play. That tells you just how good JMU was defensively.
Yeah. So, look, love me some Louisville fans. They always show us love.
Shouts to Jeremy.
Yeah. But I would just say, man, let's be realistic here. Again, this was a team I think people took for granted, and they always put together a decent team. And I think the one advantage I have here, Will, is that I'm closer to them. I used to live in Harrisonburg, so I'm very familiar with that JMU culture. Um, so I'm hearing a lot of stuff about JMU on a regular basis, even today. So I'm digesting a lot of what's going on there. So that's part of the reason why I was saying, hey, watch out for these guys. They're capable of ruining your day. They almost did. Let's go on to the next game. Um, Let me just be frank about this. Duke ruined themselves on this game. I'm not 100% sure. I've seen some people say, hey, Duke was the better team. Mm, I don't believe that to be the case. I still think Illinois would have won this game, but I think it should have ended up being a lot closer than the final score of 45-19 Illinois over Duke.
Duke's defense did not lose in this game. I thought the Duke defense played really well.
Yeah,
They held Illinois to 2.9 yards per carry. They got to Altmaier, the quarterback, 4 times, had 10 TFLs. But when you turn it over 5 times and put all that on your defense, you're asking too much.
yeah,
And those 5 turnovers, that led to 21 points for Illinois. So that tells you right there that it would have been a lot closer game had it not been for the turnovers. But credit to Darian Mintz, 2 touchdown passes, 334 yards, looks the part. Like I said, I when we previewed Duke with Connor O'Neill, like I really wasn't familiar with this game, but this is why he was so highly sought after in the transfer portal.
yeah.
He looks like a really good passing quarterback. He can run. They're selective about it. Say all those turnovers led to a blowout in the second half. Illinois outscored Duke 31-6 in the second half, and that, folks, is your ball game.
That's right. Next game up. This should have never gone where it went. I'm not sure what happened here. It went into overtime. And the only reason it went into overtime is because Syracuse scored the tying point with like 50 some seconds left in the fourth quarter. The final score here, Syracuse 27, UConn 20. Really? I mean, and that's the kind of stuff I was seeing on social media. Syracuse? Question mark? Yeah. Like, what? What happened? What happened?
Thought it was funny when the game was over, and then all of a sudden you see these videos surfacing of the team running sprints after the game.
Mm-hmm.
How's that going to fix the fact that your offensive line sucks? 3 sacks. They got Villar or Angeli was sacked 3 times in this game. He's been sacked 10 times so far in the first 2 games.
That's 10
How is
times.
that gonna running sprints gonna fix the fact again that your offensive line sucks? They can't run the ball. They didn't run the ball very well in this game either. Uh, I mean, it was a good thing Steve Angeli like had an awesome game, 417 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. He was 10 of his final 11 passes. Hit the tight end Dan Villari, 7 catches, 104 yards. Great comeback win, but shouldn't need the word comeback. You should have handled them at home.
Yeah.
Maybe I
No.
mean, yeah, maybe UConn is a good team. I mean, Jim Moore Jr. might be the perfect coach for them, but you should not need overtime to beat UConn if you're Syracuse.
It should have never come to this. And UConn has gotten progressively better. So kudos to the Huskies and more with that job that they've done there. But Syracuse is a much better team. I don't think there's any doubt about that. And if you've seen any of the play so far this season, you would look at Syracuse and go, well, that's not exactly what I anticipated out of this team this year. They're doing a lot better, I think. That's what I thought going into this game. And then I was like, what's happening here? You know, it's like everybody and their brother has this letdown after their first game, and it's crazy. So let's get into some of these other games. Some of these are really quickies. FSU with a 77-3 win over East Texas A&M. Uh, as you say, It's a stat pattern.
Yep.
I just thought, come on, really 77. Yeah, but from what I understood, they had put, you know, they were putting a water boy in to play on this thing. So, and our buddy, brother Bond, was also, I think, pulled out of retirement to play for.
Yeah. Yeah, there's really not much to talk about in this game. I mean, Florida State had 729 yards of offense. To put that in the context, that is more than, let's see, that would currently rank them 85th nationally just for the one game out of 136 teams. So that one game alone, they'd have more total yards than like 50 something FBS teams. You know who ranks 85th in total yards actually? LSU.
Okay.
But
Hmm.
they had 11 touchdowns, 6 on the via the run, 5 via the pass, and they had 14 runs of at least 10 yards. So that tells you all you really know. This was the stop he's already dead game.
Yeah, like in the opening drive. The next game up was Pitt. Started off a little slow on this one, but they finally came around. 45-17. Central Michigan is always a tough nut out. So, you know, they're not a pushover team. And sometimes it depends on what year it is, you know. But for the most part, they're going to fight you as much as they can, as long as they can. So I think Pitt had a pretty decent showing overall. There's still some kinks they need to work out here.
Yeah, we saw one former Big East school in Syracuse play with its food and nearly bite them. They almost got stuck in the mousetrap. Pitt didn't do that. Eli Holstein, 4 touchdown passes. Raphael Williams Jr., 6 catches, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns. A really strong defensive effort, as you would expect from the Panthers. They held Central Michigan to less than a yard a carry. It was like 42 carries for 41 yards or something like that. And they sacked Central Michigan's quarterbacks 4 times and had 11 tackles for loss. So a really good all-around game. Listen, just because of the competition, I'm not really sure what to make of Pitt just yet.
That's probably a good place to be. Will, I don't think, yeah, they really haven't played anybody that would solidify our opinions as to what they're capable of. I've seen glimpses, and if they can, like I said, if they can work out some kinks, they still have a little bit to go here. If they can work out some kinks, this is going to be a team to deal with. Um, and I think this coming week is going to be a great game to illustrate just how good or how bad you are. Our next game up, and please do not ask the question on social media or any place else, why is this not a conference game? Because if you've been around the ACC for several years now, you should have heard this explanation like 100 times already, maybe 1,000. And if you haven't, it's probably simpler just to type it into Google or AI of some sort and say, why is this not considered a conference game? And then you'll get your explanation and it all makes sense. And then you'll probably next week go, why is this not a never mind. Uh, this is exactly what you and I talked about, Will. This was going to be an offensive juggernaut. You really pointed to the fact that these two teams had the potential to put up a lot of points, and that's what happened. And there was some exciting play here. All I can tell you is that through this entire game, I was going like, man, the potential for both of these teams, because we've certainly had enough opportunity to beat a dead horse here. These teams just haven't been delivering in the past, but in this game, man, they delivered, and it was the way it ended. Ugh, that was painful to see, but this was a hell of a good game. 35-31, NC State over Virginia.
Man, yeah, this was a fun game.
Yeah.
If you're a fan of no defense, this was your game. Virginia outgained North Carolina State 514 to 416. Nice on the Hoos to be very symmetrical with their offense because they had 257 yards passing and 257 yards rushing. Both were the highest total since the Coastal Carolina game last year. Jamari Taylor in a losing effort, 150 yards, three touchdowns. Had a busted a really long touchdown run. It was 66 yards. Really, really nice play. For NC State, CJ Bailey had three touchdowns. He threw for one and ran for two. Hollywood Smothers, 140 yards, two touchdowns. A really nice game in the ground for him. And you talked about him last week, Jeb. Smothers looks like a really good back. He didn't have the best game against ECU, but he really showed out in this game.
Yeah.
The game was sealed when Chandler Morris was picked off in the end zone. And if you go back and look at that play, you'll see tight end Dak Twitty wide open inside the five, and he would have walked right in for the game-winning touchdown if Morris doesn't throw that ball into the end zone. It's definitely a mistake he will want back. Um, I do obviously the concerns with Virginia's defense are there. I do have them because I feel like, especially in the secondary, they weren't very good in this game, and
No.
you know, their best defender is going to come back in a few weeks. Cam Robinson. He's scheduled to be back for the Stanford game in like 2 weeks, so that'll help the defense. But two games they haven't gotten much. They have one sack in two games, and this is an area that I thought they would improve on coming into the season. So far, only one sack's a little concerning. Um, State's defense, I thought they can be better. I thought especially in the back end. I thought they were pretty good in the front end, but like the linebackers didn't look good. The secondary, for the most part, didn't look that great. Yeah, the pass defense is something I think that we're going to need to see them work on going forward. They've had a couple of rough games in the air.
Agree with that. Um, Exciting game, and somebody's got to come out on the losing end of that. But it showed a lot of promise, and the unfortunate thing here is, as we talked about, is that one of these two teams' coaches is going to be skewered for a loss here. It didn't make any difference which one lost. And there's plenty of talk about Tony Elliott to begin with. Um, Going through comments, posts, etc., as much as I can. I'm seeing some, but it's not as frothy in the mouth as I would have anticipated after that loss. I think people looked at that game with the Pack and said, "Hey, they're coming along, and maybe they're giving him a little bit more of a leeway here." Um, we'll see. We'll see how the next few games go, and then whether or not the frothy mouth people come back out and are really attacking him. Um, our next game up, the way this thing started, I was sure that Wake Forest was going to just leave something behind that did not smell good here, and it ended up being a lot better than I thought. Wake Forest 42, Western Carolina 10. Delayed by a couple of these games are delayed by rain, a lot of stormy weather and lightning and stuff going on, and this was one of those games that got delayed.
Meanwhile, here in the Twin Cities, it was like low to mid 60s and sunny, and it was an absolutely beautiful weekend. So, just saying. Not a whole lot to really learn off of this game. Wake had 542 yards of offense. Demond Claiborne came back. He was healthy in this game. 10 carries, 193 yards, three touchdowns. Had one that was 85 yards. So that pretty much says even without that one carry, he was basically doing whatever the hell he wanted against that Western Carolina defense.
Yeah.
Receiver Chris Barnes, six catches, 149 yards. That was a nice game. We're looking for a receiver to potentially step up for the Deacs, and I think he has that potential. Defense sacked Western Carolina 5 times as well. So nice defensive effort for the Deacs. A couple of a couple of good defensive efforts so far, but the competition's only going to get stiffer, and we're going to see how that translates.
Yeah, again. This is a team that shows a lot of potential, and they seem to be slowly but surely clicking and understanding all of these new schemes that are being put into place. So we'll see how that all plays out. Now, this next game, I I noticed you sent a message saying you had just gotten home and you saw the score on this. I I was baffled by what was going on here, and of course, somebody, social media, really good about this. One of you guys out there showed a 3-year running total of playing Troy and why Clemson should never play Troy again, should get them off their damn schedule altogether. Troy is a thorn in your side. And boy, there for a while, I was thinking, oh no, here we go. Clemson's going to go the route of FSU from last year. And fortunately, I don't know what the heck happened here. I just think it's somebody literally throwing on a light switch and going, hey, wake the hell up. Clemson pulled this one out 27-16. And let me say, pulling it out, literally. I mean, you don't have a team like Troy leading you and whooping you like that. Not with what you have. I mean, come on. And you just finished playing LSU the week before to one score. I mean, this says everything we need to know about Clemson. Clemson is a good team. What the hell happened against Troy?
Yeah. Troy is like JMU light in a lot of ways. They may not beat you, but they're going to be pesky as bleep. They are. I mean, some of those Sun Belt teams are really tough to play with, and they're going to give you game. Troy's been that way for a while. Yeah, definitely a disappointing effort from Clemson here. They trailed 16-3 at halftime, and that was what I was messaging you
Yeah.
yesterday. But they turned around and outscored Troy 24-0 in the second half, but they only had 316 yards of offense. Cade Klubnik, 196 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Adam Randall had 112 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. At least somebody had a good game, along with Bryant Wesco Jr., 7 catches, 118 yards and 2 touchdowns. And yeah, they're 1-1. Yeah, you can excuse losing to LSU by 7, but being down by 2 scores at halftime to Troy at home and needing the kind of half you did to beat them, yeah, that's very concerning. I believe we know there's more to this Clemson offense, but they got to show it.
Yeah. The AP and USA Today voters, the top 25s for both of those, the coaches poll and the top 25, they dropped Clemson down because of this game, and rightfully so.
I
Look,
don't blame them.
unless you start showing that you're worthy, you're going to put yourself in a position where you're sliding away from that CFP status. You're going in the wrong direction. So you need to wake up. And there was here was a lot of chatter on social media and message boards about what needs to be done. Should they be looking at somebody other than Cade Klubnik and yada yada yada. There's some things that are not right there. I don't know what the heck it is, but I don't know that by yanking, knee-jerk reactions don't get you anywhere. So let's move on to this next one. I thought for sure that by now, well, no, I think week 3 more so. Georgia Tech over Gardner Webb, 59-12. Okay. Georgia Tech, I would say I'm beginning to feel like they're all that in a bag of chips. So, but again,
Yep.
Gardner Webb. So,
Yeah, but Georgia Tech to the ACC championship hive. Stand up. Let's go. Concerning though, because all of a sudden Haynes King was out with a lower body injury for this game. That's something to monitor.
hmm
This was not anything I was aware of coming into the game, but again, it's Gardner Webb, so you're not too worried about it. Aaron Filer stepped in and threw for 373 yards in this game. Georgia Tech had 680 total yards in this game. Yeah, against Gardner Webb, as you mentioned. They ran for 223 yards, averaged 8 yards per carry, and the Yellow Jackets are top 10 nationally in yards per carry, which they're averaging over 7 yards per carry for the season. That just shows you how good they are on the ground. Uh, really impressed by what Georgia Tech's done these first 2 weeks. Obviously, overcoming the three first quarter turnovers against Colorado and then turning it around and winning it, and then blowing away Gardner Webb here. That's what they need to do because you cannot look forward to look ahead to what's coming up next week.
no. All right, let's get into one of our double overtime games. Exciting game, but frustrating from the standpoint of watching SMU just not be able to close the deal on Baylor. Now, this is one of those almost cross town, but it's cross state. It's a cross state uh, rivalry, and it always ends up being a very tough game. This went into two overtimes. SMU, a ranked team, falling to Baylor 48-45. As a result, SMU got booted out of the top 25.
It's about an hour and almost an hour and a half between separating these two schools, ironically. Um, Yeah, Kevin Johnson threw three touchdown passes. TJ Harden had 115 yards and three touchdowns on the ground. Romello Brinson, 126 yards receiving, two touchdowns, had a 75-yard touchdown catch on the first play of the game. But SMU was up 38 to 24 with 8:38 to go
Mm-hmm.
and then proceeded to blow it. Gave up two touchdowns in that time, gave up a touchdown with less than a minute left, 34 seconds left, to allow Baylor to tie it. And then in the second overtime, they were SMU missed the field goal, and then that allowed Baylor to go out and kick the game-winning field goal. SMU allowed 601 total yards to Baylor. Their quarterback threw for like 440 yards. So that's a very alarming stat. I know Baylor is a really good offense and whatnot, but this is a game. You're up two scores with 8 minutes left. You should not be blowing. So disappointing effort for SMU defensively.
So I think dropping SMU out of the top 25 actually is a good thing. Don't like to see the number of ACC teams in the top 25 drop out or drop down. But I was from the very beginning had some questions about SMU being a ranked team, and it's only because you carry over from the prior year, which doesn't make any sense. If you really look at the reasons why, it doesn't make any sense. So, but you have plenty of opportunity to come back. Let's take a look at another team that I'm really looking forward to Cal playing a team of substance per se, and seeing what they can do because they're showing a lot of promise. I'm impressed with where they're going so far. I really thought they were going to be just stinking it up this year. 35-3 over Texas Southern in the final.
Yeah, just like some of these games, this is another game you're not going to learn a whole lot out of. It's Texas Southern. You should be beating them by that score. I mean, granted, it was 11 to nothing at halftime. So that was a
That's
little concerning.
yeah.
I mean, but again, Jared Kiawe, Sekapulatelli did kind of have a little bit of a comeback, coming back to earth game in this one. 200 on 259 yards, he did throw a pick in this game. Kendrick Raphael, former NC State running back, had 131 yards and a touchdown. and they held Texas Southern to just 192 total yards. But again, this is what you should be doing against a team at that level.
Exactly. Now, a team that should be doing a lot better, but I think that everybody blew a lot of smoke up our collective whatever. Whatever you're wearing, it's smoky. Um, North Carolina with a 20-3 win over Charlotte. Charlotte was very effective in trolling the hell out of North Carolina. Just take a look. Just go through social media. You'll find it. Trust me, it's hilarious. But North Carolina should be beating teams like Charlotte significantly. Um, they are not. And now, second game, we'll see where this team goes. I think this is a team that's going to take a while to click. If it's not clicking by 4 or 5, you ain't clicking.
I was pretty on social media yesterday during the games, and it felt like when the game went final, you would figure there'd be all this hubbub about Belichick finally getting his first win as a college coach, but it seemed like nobody cared.
Pretty much.
Let's put it this way about North Carolina.
Hmm.
They had two drives totaling 155 yards. The other nine drives, they had 148. Yeah. The first drive of the game, they just like against TCU, drove down the field 75 yards, nice touchdown drive. They had another drive in like the third quarter, but they went 80 yards and got the other touchdown, I think it was. But then the other ones, yeah, 148 yards on nine drives
Mm.
and 155 on two. Defensively, they held Charlotte to 21 yards rushing, less than a yard a carry. Okay. But this was like a very uninspiring win. Um, so
Yeah.
the offense, like, yeah, the offense needs a lot of work. Well, I think that's a fairly obvious thing.
Next up, another one of these. We do this to support Bethune Cookman, and so kudos for teams who are doing that. Miami 45, Bethune Cookman 3. Doesn't tell us a lot.
No, it does not. Bethune-Cookman got paid to be there. They got a hefty paycheck. They got 191 total yards. They actually sacked Miami twice, which is probably, but Miami put up 543 yards, which is exactly what they're supposed to do in a game like this.
Yeah.
You get an opportunity to bring in backups, let them get some snaps in a college football game. Because if something happens later down the road, they're going to be more ready for it. So that's all you really took out of this game.
Yep. Next game was the game of the night for me. I was really bought into this game in a big way. Watched all the way to the very end. Um, one complaint I have, NBC, your crew, after they started warming up, they were not bad. By the time they got to the end of the game, they were actually listenable. But oh my God, at the beginning it was like, where did you get these guys from? A high school broadcast or something? And there's a couple of professionals there, and it was just like I don't know whether they were just off or what, but I almost switched over to listening to the radio side of things because that's a little more exciting. Michigan State pulling off a 42-40 double overtime win over Boston College, and let me tell you something. Uh, let's not underestimate Boston College, man, because you want to talk about putting on a hell of a show. This was it.
Yeah, so positively offensively for Boston College, Dylan Lonergan is real. 390 yards passing, four touchdowns. He looked phenomenal. He's looked these first two games are exactly why he's the starter instead of Grayson James. He's looked outstanding. Um, I know it's possible Alabama could have had a better quarterback, but well, their loss, Boston College's gain. Lewis Bond, 11 catches, 90 yards. One concern, though, for Boston College is their run game has not been very good so far in these two games.
Flat.
2.7 yards per carry against Michigan State, and for the season they're only averaging 2.5 yards per carry. That's not good. Defensively, they had 4 sacks, but in the end, they could not stop Aiden Childs, who was just kind of on one of those runs at points last night. He made some weird plays, but then God, when he got free, he was hard to
Yeah.
get.
He's a moose.
But you were 100% right. This was an outstanding game. This was one of the best games of the week, really.
I will put it in there in one of the best games I've seen in the last 3 to 5 years, frankly, on a college level. I was so impressed. And I was watching both sides here. I was rooting for Boston College, but I was watching both sides, and I'm telling you, there was a lot of talent out on that field, and they were executing and doing a great job. Very, very impressed. 42-40 again, the double overtime win for Michigan State over Boston College. Kudos, though, to our brethren at Boston College. What a hell of a game you put on there, man. I think at the very end of this game, looking at the coach's face, said everything that you need to know about the ending. And I actually felt bad for the guy because, man, the chatter is vicious. Vanderbilt 44, Virginia Tech 20. There really is not an excuse for that sort of a win by Vanderbilt.
Yeah. Virginia Tech led this game 20-10 at halftime, and it outgained the Commodores 227 to 169. Problem is, there's a second half.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt outscored Virginia Tech 34 to nothing, outgained them 321 to 21, and most of those yards came on the final drive because for a lot of the fourth quarter, they were in the negatives in terms of total yards in the second half. Hokies gave up 262 yards on the ground and gave up over 7 yards per carry. Not great, Bob. Um, just seeing the discourse towards the end of the game, into Sunday as we record, just the frustration level from Virginia Tech people who know it's not going to work, and all this promise they were given with the new coordinators, it's not going to work out. But at the same time, Whit Babcock's in a no-win situation because he probably realizes if he's going to fire Brent Pry, he's probably going down too.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will bank on that. I mean, he both of them are in a situation where, departing maybe on their own terms as soon as possible might be a good idea because I really, at one point I really looked at Whit Babcock and thought, well, here's a really good AD. He's probably one of the better ADs in the conference.
Yeah.
But all the stuff that has been coming out as of late, we've read stuff from, David Teal has done some great reporting on this. As an AD, you have failed that school. I don't know what you were doing. It's almost like you were asleep at the wheel. Now maybe you had roadblocks. You probably did that we don't see, and I'll be understanding of that. But man, it's like some of the people who are longtime supporters of Virginia Tech are like, that's it. And in very succinctly, we're not talking knee-jerk reaction here. We're talking about serious people. Okay? Uh-huh. And that's the sort of thing that my phone is reacting to that. Either that or they're shooting something here in the studio with me that I'm not aware of. But anyway,
Yeah.
I'm just saying, when you get people that are talking the way they are, uh, there better be some solution here and pretty damn quick. Um, uh, phew, wow.
Yeah, and the real and we've talked about this on here and with some of our other guests of Virginia Tech. They ever since NIL's become a thing, that whole athletic department has struggled to keep up. And remember, Whit Babcock, had that big speech with everybody here about a month or so ago, and the question is are they going to have they did they listen? Are they going to start doing something? Because the time is now.
Yeah.
The time is now. Because if they fire Brent Pry and they don't have the quite the funding to hire a decent coach, a once proud football school is going to be left in the dust.
Yeah.
And you think about where this program was just 5 years ago when football program was, I mean, we didn't realize the football program, but they had Buzz Williams, consistently getting them to the tournament and all these. They had Kenny Brooks taking the Hokie women's program to heights they'd never seen before. They're gone now, and they just haven't quite recuperated from that.
All right. You folks who support Virginia Tech, you got a big challenge in front of you. And I think that, big challenges like this, I would just say, frankly, that, complaining about it really doesn't do a lot of good. It doesn't make things happen. But standing up and saying, what can we do to make this change? Because that's what we're demanding. And then be there to support whatever it is that you're told needs to be done. And it's going to take financial wherewithal to turn something around. So be prepared to reach down in your pocket and pay. I think that if that's what you want, you can either do one or two things. You can complain and be a sad sack, or you can step up and say, no, we're not going to accept this, and we're going to do something about it. And I think that's the type of people that I know personally who have gone to Virginia Tech, who've graduated from Tech. That's the type of person that I know from Tech. And, I know there's some fans that are sad sacks, but those are not the people that went to Tech. Okay? Tech, there's a lot of pride in the people who went to that school. Stand up, do something. Okay? Last game of the evening was BYU with a 27-3 win over Stanford. Not too surprising, the final score. Though I will say that I thought that BYU probably should have been it should have been a higher mark there. There should have been more points on the board. Now, I don't know if there's more to Stanford than meets the eye. I'm going to have to spend more time going over the video here because I keep getting a feeling that there's something there that I'm missing.
I have a homework assignment for everybody listening or watching this podcast. I want you to either comment in the comment section on YouTube, or tweet at ACC Nation, or at Will's World MN on Twitter/X or Blue Sky, or comment on TikTok and tell us if you think Stanford's going to win more than one game this season. Go look at their schedule and tell me, will they win more than one game this season? Now, as far as this game goes, 161 yards of offense, 24 carries for 19 yards. That's 0.8 yards per carry, ladies and gentlemen. Ben Gulbranson threw 2 more picks, and he's still the starting quarterback. Yeah, condolences to those of you Stanford fans who are listening.
That's all that needs to be said there. I mean, seriously. I don't even know what to. I don't know what to say there other than there's something confusing about that whole setup there. That when you have Andrew Luck Frank Reich in the storied history of Stanford behind you, and this is what you've got. Uh, all right, let's see what we're getting into this week. Okay, we'll talk about that on Thursday, September 11th. It's NC State at Wake Forest. Hey, it's another one of those non-conference games, or is it? I don't know. I don't know if that's one of those or not. The Open has the Pack at 7.5 point favorites. 7:30 ESPN. Who are you picking?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely taking the Wolf Pack here. I've just seen a little more out of them in this game or so far through two games than the first two games, and you can have that on your second screen while you're watching the Commanders play the Packers on Thursday Night Football, and we all root for Washington here because
That's right.
FTP,
That's
right, Jim?
Thank you. I will. Yes, double down on that. Friday, September 12th, FTP. I love that. Everybody else in the NFC North knows that too. You know, it's such a common thing. Friday, September 12th, Colgate at Syracuse, 7 o'clock, ACC Network. There is no opening line on this one for obvious reasons. Who are you picking?
Yeah, the toothpaste brand has given him trouble at basketball, but they
That's about
shouldn't be
it.
giving them trouble in football. Yeah, Q should roll.
All right, let's get in Saturday games. No opening line on this game either. It's pretty common. William and Mary at Virginia. It's a nooner. ACC Network. Who you picking there?
Who should roll? They need the confidence after a tough loss. They should be able to bounce back and roll in this one.
Next game up, also a nooner on ESPN. It's Clemson at Georgia Tech. Clemson is a 7.5 point opening favorite. Who are you picking there?
I get why Clemson's such a favorite in this game, but what exactly have you seen through 2 weeks that makes you think Clemson should be a road favorite by that much? If I'm a betting man, I'm betting on Georgia Tech, and quite frankly, with the way they've played so far in these first 2 weeks, as long as Haynes King is healthy, boom. I'm taking the Yellow Jackets to upset Clemson.
There you go. I didn't say who I was taking here, so I'm going to go back. NC State, Syracuse, Virginia, and I'm also going with Georgia Tech. I think Georgia Tech is. This is at Georgia Tech, by the way. I haven't seen anything out of Clemson that's really convincing me, but I'm seeing a lot out of Georgia Tech, and I think that team is hungry. I just think that team is so hungry that they are going to. I would call this an upset, but I don't really think it's going to be. I would not consider this to be an upset. Even though Clemson is ranked and Georgia Tech is not, this is the game that I think that puts Georgia Tech into the top 25 and probably 20 to 18 to 22, somewhere in there. I thought that they might have slipped in this week, but there was enough action on other teams' parts to take care of that. Backyard brawl, Pitt and West Virginia. Boy, what a wonderful game to have. I would love to see this all the time, and I think the fans there love this one too. Pitt is a 1.5 point opening line favorite here. 3:30 ESPN. Who are you going to take in Pitt and West Virginia?
That's an interesting point spread, Jim.
And it's at West Virginia, by the way, Will. So I mean, see, this is the thing that has me concerned.
You said Pitt was a 1.5 point favorite, right?
Yeah.
West Virginia just lost to Ohio on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying. I mean, it's going to be a phenomenal atmosphere because it's the backyard brawl, but I think Pitt wins and wins by 2 scores.
Oh, okay. All right. You Mountaineer fans, I somewhere in the back of my head, there's something telling me that you guys might be winning this game because it's at home. because that's just the way this game always goes. It's a toss up, but I would say that I'm going to take Pitt by 3 points. So cover the opening. Richmond at North Carolina. Nothing there either. 3:30 Eastern on the ACC network.
What do we have? The ACC Pat League Challenge or something? We had Colgate taking on Syracuse, and now we got Richmond, who, a reminder, is now part of the Pat League, taking on North Carolina. Um, yeah, Carolina. If Richmond was a little bit better, I would consider them more, but I'll take the heels.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the heels too. Richmond is not as good as it has been over the past few years. So I would have said if it was 3 years ago, I would have said Richmond would have rolled over North Carolina. Not this time. No opening line here either. SMU at Missouri State. That's 3:30. That's going to be on CBS Sportsnet.
Congratulations to the Bears for getting their first FBS win as with the win over Marshall on Saturday in the CUSA. Um, but your reward is to go play SMU, who I think is hungry after the way they choked that game away. So SMU rolls in this one.
Yep, going with SMU and myself. Giant Killer. They have already defeated two top 25 teams. South Florida at Miami, 4:30, and it's going to be on the CW. Miami is an 18.5 point opening favorite. That is insane. I don't believe that for a minute. I think that might be some action that I might even delve into there. Who do you think is going to take this game?
God, that line is gigantic.
It's crazy.
Especially when you factor in South Florida just went to the Swamp and beat Florida.
Yeah. Yeah. They've gone from
I think they're
24 to 13. They've knocked off those two teams.
Mhm. And yeah, they just went to and yeah, Byron Brown is a name you need to know, folks. This guy is one of the better quarterbacks out there. A dual threat guy who is going to be really hard to stop. If gambling was legal in my state, I would be putting a lot of money on USF to at least cover. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna take the Hurricanes in this one. I just feel like this is a little bit different because Miami has a passing element that I don't think the first two opponents have.
Yeah. Yeah. I think Miami is definitely much, much better, miles ahead of like Florida. Obviously, Boise State too. I don't think that's something that South Florida can handle. So I'm going to take Miami, but I'm saying it probably is going to be like touchdown and a field goal, maybe something like that. But 18.5 points, you folks are insane. Old Dominion and Virginia Tech. No opening on this one. 7 o'clock Eastern time. That's ACC Network. Uh, prior to this week, I may have gone in a different direction, but I'm not so sure. Nah,
Do
this is
not
pretty obvious.
sleep on the Monarchs, folks. Let me tell you, do y'all remember if y'all watched that game against Vanderbilt, the Virginia Tech game against Vanderbilt, and saw the Commodores just blow through that Hokie defense? Vanderbilt is now number 10 nationally in yards per carry, averaging 6.81. I mentioned Georgia Tech is also in the top 10 at 7.2 yards per carry at number 7. Guess who was number 2 nationally in yards per carry? Old Dominion. Folks, they average 8.5 yards per carry so far in 2 games, and that's including a game against Indiana. A
Let me point out that Old Dominion has defeated Virginia Tech in recent history.
couple times. Yeah, they hung with Indiana. They only lost by 2 scores, so they lost 27-14, but they averaged 9.5 yards a carry against Indiana. They went for 218 yards against them. and they just beat up on their FCS opponent in a similar fashion on the ground. You know, you and I are kind of in that same spot, Jim, where we're just like, I don't know. With the way the Hokies, I mean, yeah, they look good defensively week one against South Carolina, and they didn't look so good defensively week two against Vanderbilt. And now they have a team that on paper you should beat, but they can't stop the run. And the offense has been very blah. I honestly don't know who to pick here, Jim. It, do Hokies fans want Old Dominion to win just to speed up the process of firing Brent Pry?
Wow.
I
This is a tough
it's a
choice.
question to ponder.
Tough choice. Um, just to alleviate my pain here, I'm going to take Virginia Tech by a field goal.
We should be different at one point. So you know what? Just give me ODU.
Okay.
I'm
Fair
not
enough.
confident about it, but
We could flip
we just
flop.
we need to differentiate somewhere.
Yeah, we could flip flop back and forth on this one. I don't know. I'm just going to be a Hokie homer. Um, Opening on this one is 1.5 points, and it's Tulane. So somebody again is yeah, Duke at Tulane, 8 o'clock Eastern, ESPN 2. There's no way in hell Tulane is going to beat Duke.
Well, you going after your new in-laws with this or what?
I actually thought about flying down for this game. Um, uh, and there's a wild hair in me that says, yeah, you can still do it.
I'm
Just
going
for
to
the
be
heck of it.
curious to follow the point spread of this game throughout the week because it feels like it's a wrong team favorite situation. Not that
Yeah,
I care too much about point spreads right now because, like I said, gambling is not legal here where I am. But I feel like there's a bit of an overreaction to
yeah,
this. Tulane beat Northwestern, which is great, but I don't think Northwestern is no good.
yeah.
And Duke lost, but again, I feel like Northwestern is a team that could be playoff bound by the end of this season. And I get what they're doing here. It's Darian Mensah revenge game or something. I don't know if it's a revenge. It might be Tulane versus Darian Mensah revenge game for the way all that played out. But I'm gonna take the Blue Devils on the road to win this one.
Yeah, I'm going.
I think their defense is just going to be too strong, quite
Yeah,
frankly.
I'm going with Duke, and it's going to be 2 scores. So, and I'm talking touchdowns. I ain't talking about you know. All right, Boston College at Stanford. No opening line on that one for again kind of obvious reasons. 10:30 Eastern on Saturday night. ACC Network. Who you picking there?
Yeah, Boston College wins pretty handily.
That was a tough
I
choice.
just don't see, I haven't seen anything offensively that makes me think that Stanford's going to keep up with BC,
Yeah, I don't.
especially with the way they've been throwing the ball these first two games.
Boston College, easy game. Next one. I think this is a good game to watch. Um, though I'll be frank about it. After I get up early, like you. I get up early, and I'm watching games. By the time I get to these late games, I'm like I'm toothpicking my eyes. There's only so much coffee that I can drink in a day without floating on down to the Chesapeake Bay. Minnesota at California. No opening line there. 10:30 ESPN.
I am very interested in this game. This game is a lot more interesting now than it was before the season because Cal, I think, is better than we expected a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, but this is far and away the best opponent Cal's faced yet. The Gophers are 2-0, beat Buffalo, and then ran out of fireworks against Northwestern State. The game, it was 66 to nothing, and the game was called in the midway through the fourth quarter because we had a downpour come through the Minneapolis area on Saturday, and at that point they just called the game. So. I I'm gonna take the team that's about 20 to 25-minute drive up north of me. I'll take the Gophers on the road.
All right. I am going to uh, I am going to go with Cal, just because I think that there's probably something there, and the travel and being at home is the deciding factor. I think it'll be a close game. I think it'll be a well fought game. We'll see how that
Yeah,
one plays out.
the thing that I think the matchup for me is I want to see how Cal's run game uh it goes up against the Gophers. I mean, through these two games, Cal's given up 117 yards on the ground, averaging 2.3 yards per carry. But Darius Taylor of the Gophers is a great running back, far and away better than anything Cal has seen. Um, so I'm very interested to see the defense match up against him.
So you're gonna have to find a way to shut him down. That's all there is to it. Okay, that's a look at our review and our picks for the coming week. Man, we are into week 3. Can you believe that? Man,
Slow down, college football. Slow down.
we got basketball coming up. We were already talking with our buddy Jason at Big Dog, Big Underdog, sorry, bracketology. We're going to have him on. He is really into basketball in a major way, and we're going to have him on. We've talked, I think, end of September, early October, to talk about basketball in general. Not talk specifically about the ACC, but just the whole scene, what's going on, and get his thoughts, and just kind of have a little bull session with Jason and talk about what's going on with college basketball and how things have changed. So be looking for that. There's some other things that we're lining up as well. I want you to follow us on social media. We're on Instagram, TikTok, X, YouTube, Facebook, Reddit, and Blue Sky. You can see a lot of Will's nice mug over on TikTok. Starting to post more stuff over there for you. And hey, subscribe, listen, subscribe, like, leave your comments. We're looking forward to it. We're having a good time. Hope you are too, and enjoying the season so far. Until next time, cheers.
School.
ACC Nation, your source for ACC sports coverage with Will and Jim. Be sure to like, subscribe, and follow us on our podcast, streaming radio, and YouTube. Connect with us on Blue Sky, Reddit, Instagram, Threads, Mastodon, Facebook, X, and LinkedIn.